Welcome to Devoted to a Soldier Resource Panel, and with me today, the theme is entrepreneurship, and I have David and Zac here, and they are going to bring some good stuff. Just us talking beforehand, listening to like Zac's story, I was introducing everybody, and I'm like, damn. Now that's how you get it done. But before we get started and I just jump into things, I would like you to take the opportunity to tell a little bit of like who you are, what you do, where you came from, but a short little like preview. David, you're up first.
Short preview. Thank you. My name is David Johnson, and since this talk is about entrepreneurship, I did a short little 6 years in the Army from 2000 to 2006, 3 tours to Iraq. I got out and had one job, and that lasted not too long. And then I immediately knew entrepreneurship was for me. I did use the GI Bill, went to Arizona State University, graduated in 2010, and then been on my own ever since. That is a short. You did that good. Thank you.
All directions, badass. Zac, you are up.
Zac Jenkins. I own Semper Sliders here in Nashville, Tennessee. We opened in 2017. I served as a combat engineer in the Marine Corps from 2001 to 2005 with an 2004 deployment to Afghanistan. I did iron work for a while when I got out, but when the new post 9/11 GI Bill came out, my general foreman was a Vietnam veteran, and he told me, hey, you need to look into this new GI Bill that just got passed. And so I went to culinary school just kind of for fun. It was just therapeutic. It was something I like to do, but I got involved in food trucking, and so I opened Semper Sliders about 4 years after I finished college.
There we go. Right on, to the point, and I'm going to get right to it because that's how I do it. So we have 20 minutes, and I have a lot of stuff I want to cover. So I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur. I've never, besides being 16, that was the only time I've ever worked for actually somebody. I was a waitress. From the time I was 18 on, I have owned my own business or part of a family business. But how do you go through the process of identifying what business is right for you? Because that's hard. Like I was given a family business. Basically, I had to work my way up, but that's what it was. When I stopped doing that, I have no idea. It's taken me so long. Like, well, 2 years of of chaos of finding like, what do I want to be? What do I like? What don't I like? Let's try this. Let's try that. So how did you get to where you are? How did you find your successful business?
Am I up? Is this my turn?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to. Okay. So, well, what business you want and what lifestyle you want might be two separate questions, but the business you want, and again, I can only speak on my experiences. Yeah. You kind of just fall into it. The business I'm in, which is employee benefits and healthcare management. I don't think anybody wakes up in high school and says, "Yeah, I want to be in the employee benefit industry." Most people probably don't even know that exists. I fell into it in 2012, coming off another very large business failure. And that first business failure I had, that was a concept that I had, an idea that I had, and that idea just came to me. So I think, a lot of entrepreneurs, and probably even Zac with the sliders, I can't wait to hear your story. It probably just comes to you. I mean, you don't wake up in high school and say, I'm going to do this thing with sliders. But as life goes on, and I talk about different chapters in your life, you just learn new things and meet new people, and ideas just come to you, especially if you have that entrepreneurial drive and that spirit. You're open to different ideas, and they probably just come into your life at different times.
I mean, and is that also how, because you have the David Johnson show, which is very cool, and I totally am digging it, but I'll let you talk about that. But is that how that happened? It was, you didn't give up another career. You've kind of like added this.
No, yeah, as an entrepreneur, I've been in the same industry since 2013. And again, that's healthcare and employee benefits and healthcare management. And I've always been passionate towards the military and veteran community. So the David Johnson show is very new, actually. We just started that less than 2 months ago. As a matter of fact, 90 days ago, the concept of the David Johnson show didn't even exist.
I did not know that.
Yeah, this is, it's very new. So again, that's something that I was kind of, I don't want to say bored with my, day job, but I just wanted more. I wanted a passion. I wanted a hobby. So I decided to start the David Johnson show.
Isn't that funny? So we have the same story, but totally back-ass words. I was, doing my resource panel, going to events, trying to lift up and promote other nonprofits, realized that there was a hole in many veterans' lives of life. So I got my license to help educate them. Like totally like same story, but a backwards way. I knew that, but I never somehow that made a new light bulb go off in my brain. Sorry, you guys got to all experience that light bulb moment.
That's what happens.
Sorry. But now, Zac, how did you find, you kind of said you were doing the iron work and then you went for the therapy, but what gave you that oomph that instead of it just being a
both of my parents were entrepreneurs. My dad was a carpenter. I had a contracting company. I grew up flipping houses with my dad in West Tennessee. He's retired Army. My mom had started a mobile X-ray company. She ran that for about 10 to 12 years and became really big. And she had a larger company come and buy out and kind of restructure it. And so I always had two parents that were entrepreneurs. And having grandfathers that were retired military, my dad was retired military. My brother, who's 4 years older than me, joined the Air Force after high school. So I knew I was going to join the military after high school. I was a knucklehead in high school. The Marine Corps was right up my alley. I really wanted to be a Marine. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I got into ironwork, just kind of, it was called Helmets to Hard Hats. It was a occupational transitioning company. And so all I had to do was take some certifications and prove that I'd already been doing ironwork after I got out of the Marine Corps. And I got to come into a ironworkers union in Knoxville, Tennessee as a journeyman. And so I did that for a while, and the new GI Bill came out. And so I thought, let me go utilize this and get an education. But I had already been pursuing law enforcement and criminal justice when I first got out of the Marines, and decided I didn't want to do that. And I really wasn't going to go to college for anything, structural or any carpentry or whatnot. So cooking had become very therapeutic for me after I got out of the Marine Corps, and it helped me deal with a lot of stress and issues that I was dealing with at the time, being in the kitchen and doing hours of prep and hours of cooking and getting that gratification from friends and family after they ate the food. And, I'm a musician as well. I've been a musician since I was a small kid. And so I was getting that same kind of gratification as a cook as I did as a musician, that you were entertaining or pleasing. And so I thought, I'll go to culinary school just to use the GI Bill, and it'll be fun. It's something therapeutic. And then after culinary school, and I got a bachelor's in business and hospitality. After that, I would get back into carpentry or ironwork or whatever, or flipping houses. And I got asked to go represent the school on the Great Food Truck Race in 2012. We did episode 5 of season 3 called Music City Madness.
Yeah.
And for the few culinary students that went to appear on the show, for all of them, it was, oh, this was fun, and we got to be on TV, and that was it. For me, it opened a door of, this isn't a restaurant or a hotel or a catering company. I don't have tons of employees. I don't have 3 managers, and it's just 2 or 3 people on a food truck with a small menu. It's more intimate with your customer and with your employees, because you're on a food truck with just 2 or 3 people. That becomes a family. The people working on that
kind of fit your niche. It just, again, you just kind of fell into it from those experiences.
And so I just got a job on a food truck. I had about a year left in college and had to do an externship. I needed to get 200 hours. And so I asked the head chef, hey, can I do my externship on a food truck? And he said, sure. And so I just found a food truck that was looking for help. And I said, you don't even have to pay me. I just want to do this for fun. Give me 200 hours of business.
Isn't that what we all want, David? Someone to say, hey, you don't even have to pay me.
I've hired my employees from the culinary school that I graduated from. I went there and scouted and recruited students graduating from the culinary school to come work for me, because I knew that they would have the background and the drive and inspiration that I got from the culinary school.
Yeah, that's smart, because the culture that they come from. But David, you touched on this, and this is a very big key, because people can have a passion, a heart, and they want to be an entrepreneur, but their lifestyle is a certain lifestyle. So how do you make that connection? How do you decide this is something I'm going to do, and this is also something that can create the lifestyle? Because there's a gap in so many people.
Yeah. Well, there's so many answers around or questions around lifestyle. That's one. And then before I answer that, the lifestyle I was talking about entrepreneurs, maybe once you start a company, where do you want to go with it? Like, Zac, do you want to hire employees and kind of be more hands-off? So I'm at a point right now in my business of, do I want to continue to grow and scale, which means a lot more time put in by me and other people, or do I want to just kind of coast along and I'm, business is good, life is good, I can spend more time with my son, I don't have to work on weekends anymore. So it's really kind of deciding what you want out of your company and where you want to take it, in my opinion. But regarding what you were saying about the lifestyle,
those go hand in hand, kind of.
They do.
Because...
But then starting out, as you put it, I don't know any entrepreneur that started a company from scratch who had it easy. I mean, that's just a fact. And
doesn't exist.
There's no way around it. And if you don't have it, and the fact is, in my opinion, not everybody can be an entrepreneur. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Not everybody should be an entrepreneur. My brother, God bless him, the greatest man in the world. He works for a big Fortune, huge company in downtown Houston, and that's his lifestyle, and he likes it. But the point is, if you're going to get into entrepreneurship, you got to be prepared those first couple of years to either one, you're going to fail, two, it's going to be tough and you're going to make it, or somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what about failure? Maybe, Zac, you can start with that. So, because it is. Failure, I always say failure is not what we perceive it as society to be.
Yeah.
To me, failure is a stepping stone into your next greater step. You realize, okay, that didn't work. Thank God I found that out. Let's move on,
I got that experience. So I graduated. I started working on food trucks in 2013. I graduated December 2013. I didn't open Semper Sliders until the middle of 2017. I consulted. Because I had a degree, an associate's in culinary and a bachelor's in business, it opened the door for helping food truckers and other entrepreneurs that didn't necessarily have that education or background. I was operations manager for a few different businesses, and I would consult business owners on what they could do to lower their food costs, lower their labor costs, tweak their recipes, how to make menu items better. And so I watched a lot of businesses fail and saw why they failed, either because of the person owning or running the business, or just their marketing strategies or their food or whatever it was. And so I got to learn all that for 4 years. And so when I opened Semper Sliders, I took a lot of things that I saw work from businesses and implemented all of those things, and all the things that didn't work and created failure that were learning lessons for them, were learning lessons for me as well as an employee and as a partner. And I try to make sure that I don't do those things with my business. But I've been open for 3 years. Our 3-year anniversary is in 2 weeks. And I've still had plenty of failures, and it's still been learning experiences and things that we've had to, change along the way. But, even complete failure. I mean, if we're talking on the grand scope of like closing your business and closing your LLC and complete failure, you still can start again. You can still get back on your feet and say, that didn't work. That was bad. I either wasn't passionate enough about it, or I need to change something about that business, and then maybe rebrand or partner up with someone that, is on the same level, so you're not taking all the responsibility on your own.
I got to give a few shout outs, because there's people commenting. Eddie and Andrew and Travis and Rory and Jesse, and those are the ones that I've just seen fly up. They're all saying, hey guys, and their shout outs, the oots and all of that jazz. So I had to get that out there. But David, you talked like you had an idea, brought it, and it totally bombed.
Yeah, so in 2008 or 9, I don't remember exactly, I started an idea from scratch, my own idea, as opposed to the industry I'm in now. It's an already established industry. I just opened up my own company in that industry. But it was a tech startup. On paper, at our peak, we were valued at $2.3 or $2.5 million. And Zac, to your point about completely shutting down, September of 2012 completely shut it down, and we had $90,000 a month in payroll at our peak, and we won many battles, but we lost the war. I had no clue what I was doing, to be candid. It was, I can admit that now, and it was very tough at the time. I remember it vividly. I rented a U-Haul truck backed up the truck to the office. And pretty much every employee just said, F you, and left me, which is, that's fine. That's how it is. And then loaded up all the furniture by myself. I think my buddy was with me, drove it to my house, unloaded it. My attorney stuck by my side, God bless him. My accountant stuck by my side, God bless him. And we officially dissolved the company. 5 months later, my son was born, and I was driving to the hospital with negative $10 to my name. So that was fun. And then I immediately got into the industry that I'm in now. So yeah.
It's just something, there's no turning back, right? You just
right. I can't get a job. I just can't do it. I'm not a W-2, sit in an office.
Well, I think there's a lot of veterans. I made sergeant right before I got out. And I think if you've had this leadership instilled into you and all these guidelines and how to be a leader and how to lead and how to take direction from your superiors and stuff like that, it's very hard to get back into the civilian world with that leadership mentality and get into a job where you have people over you that you either don't respect their leadership style or you just it becomes difficult. Sure. And so there were time after time where I just thought it's time for me to do this. It's time for me to be the leader and to start my own business and be the leader for my employees that I always wanted after I got out.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to knock, somebody has a great career path. There's a lot to that. Sure. I mean, that's awesome if that's your path. I just knew internally that was not my path.
It's very difficult to be an entrepreneur and say, I wish I could just, sometimes like I just want to finish all this and I'm just going to go get a job at a restaurant as a GM or something, with my background and my experience, I could go make good money running a restaurant somewhere and I'm just going to do that and retire. And, but I knew I had to try it first. I knew that with inspiration from Mission Barbecue, with other veteran entrepreneurs, I ran a veteran organization called Vets for Vets that was kind of occupational and transitional therapy as well. I worked probably with about 125 veterans in the scope of the time that I was running Vets for Vets. And seeing what Mission Barbecue was doing, I was like, that's it. This is how I can take my passion for first responders and the veteran and military community and my therapy for cooking and my drive for entrepreneurship and combine these two things where I now have a restaurant and I'm getting to cook and I'm getting to interact with customers and whatnot, but I'm getting to take money and do sponsorships and donate to charities and stuff from the business. And got involved with the Irreverent Warriors last year. I've always partnered up with some local nonprofits with the business. That's all I wanted to do for 2020 with Semper Sliders was partner up with Irreverent Warriors. But Andrew Farr, God bless him, he saw the leadership in me and he said, you need to come on, be my co-coordinator. I became the coordinator. And so I'm coordinating the hike because I was already doing events and stuff anyways. And then I would just donate the money to whatever charity I felt like donating it to. So I was like, all right, let's partner up with a charity and work, strictly with them.
Don't you feel like, because kind of what I'm doing is because one of my questions was, do you think your service helped or hindered this process of being an entrepreneur? But so I think you guys answered that without me having to ask it. Basically, yes, because it gave you that mentality. But going back to, how do you know that you're an entrepreneur or how do you know that you're not? And there's no right or wrong because this is your life. Because even as an entrepreneur, you do have those feelings of questioning yourself. Like life might be a lot easier in this moment right now if I didn't have to figure out how I was going to pay myself or make those sales. Or
I think people that feel that call to become an entrepreneur and feel like they have a concept that they think will work, they just have to try it, and if it fails and they decide this is not for me and it was too much stress and I just want to have a normal 40-hour-a-week job, then they can go back to that. I think if they have that calling, they'll know that they at least have to try it. That was for me. It was when I'm 80 years old, I'm not going to look back and want to say, man, I wish I would have tried to do something or start my own business. And I just was always too scared to do it. I still have goals and dreams of opening a second and third Semper Sliders and growing it into a chain or a franchise or something. I started it with my daughter.
Have like that drive in you, even through the hard time. But
yeah.
I gotta go back, David. You had like a story. You closed up a major business. Your son was born. Can you talk to people that are in that state right now?
Yeah.
Didn't you go get a job, frankly? And maybe you were getting pressure from, your wife at the time. I don't know, but I don't know how, I'd be as a woman being like, I'm popping this baby out. We have no money and I'm freaking the frig out. Right?
Yeah, it was a very stressful time. And I'll comment on that and segue one thing that Zac said. If you have an idea, you know it. You know you have the idea. You know you have a desire or not. Nobody can teach that. Where I think a lot of entrepreneurs get hung up is they don't know how to take the next step. That's where the questions come in. How do I form a company, which is candidly easy, but how do I get a product off the ground? How do I get a service off the ground? That's where a lot of people get hung up when the questions come into play. But whether you have an idea or not, or a desire, you just got to dig down deep, and that's you. But to your point, when that company went under, it's almost like 3 years of learning lessons hit me in one night. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? And it's like 3 years of what the F over just hit me all at once. And then I was very lucky to, my associates and my inner circle are all entrepreneurs. So that I kind of just fell into something else. But yeah, heaven knows where my life would have been if I didn't fall into something else. And now I have a family to support, and thank the heavens, my wife at the time was very supportive. But it was kind of like the perfect storm, the good and the bad. But yeah, it was rough times. I mean, I got kicked out of the house I was living in, and cars repoed, and the whole nine. And it was very, very stressful.
I think what I heard from both of you as we're coming to an end here is that you both took responsibility for what you were feeling, which means your entrepreneurial instinct, like this drive in you, this idea in you. You took responsibility of it. And you also took responsibility of the failures that came along with it. You didn't try to pass it on or make some excuse for it. And that's where you're learning, and that's how you've become successful. That's what I just took away from all of this, is own your crap.
Own your crap.
Word heavier than crap, but I try to keep my mouth clean.
Own your crap. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So as we're that's what I took away from this, which is a huge value, because you have two totally different stories, two totally different businesses, two totally different even mindsets, but very similar in your action steps behind, that you follow through. What would you leave everybody with that is either in the midst of being an entrepreneur, thinking that they're in it, that they want to be in it? What would you say? Because you are two very successful men.
The only thing I would say is I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs kind of like a buzzword nowadays, but a few things. One, clearly define your product or service. What are you selling, and who are you selling it to?
I tell people that all the time.
Right.
Tell people who you are and what you do. Semper and Sliders tells people who I am and what I do. And I love alliteration.
And know that in your head. And then get from A to B. If A is I have an idea, and B is I need to sell my first product to my first customer, what do I need to do to get from A to B? Worry about B to C and C to D and D all the way to the end of the alphabet later, because it's not going to happen day one. Get from A to B, and that's it. First step.
I've done some panels with the SBA, and I've always said set very high, just bizarre, inachievable goals, and then start setting these goals that you can hit in weeks and in months and maybe by the end of the year. And in 10 years, that crazy inachievable goal may be a lot closer than you think it is. But it has a lot to, entrepreneurship is a lot about passion. You have to be extremely passionate about the product that you're selling and the customer service and the quality. But surround yourself with people that are as passionate as you and will support your business, but some people that can make sure that you take the blinders off. Sometimes entrepreneurship, you can be so blinded by your passion and by your goal
Right.
that you just, I can't fail.
Right.
And you can dig some deep holes really quick with that by being overly passionate or overly confident. So have some people in your corner that can help you pump the brakes and help guide you. Maybe people that other entrepreneurs that have, been doing, even if it's not in the same business model, just, surround yourself with other successful people and people that can get you where you're going, that have learned from their mistakes as well.
Well, let me tell you, this is going to be one of those replay for thinking of being an entrepreneur, in the middle of it, or a successful one, because I'm always about, you always have to be on top. You always have to reevaluate. You can't become complacent in what you're doing. So this was huge. Thank you guys. You dropped the bomb. There's like fireworks going on inside me with the value that you brought today. Thank you so much. And anyone out there that you're listening, click on their name, learn more about them, go visit them when you're in their town, because I already told them that I'm going to be stalking them and showing up at their door when I am in, 2 different sides of the country. And I welcome everybody to join our table. We'll see you later, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.